They thought she'd break, alone, surrounded, her convoy burning in the void. But the moment the Empire struck, she didn't beg, she smiled. Because humans don't run from ambushes, we turn them into graveyards. Before we dive in, hit subscribe and drop a comment. This one's going to leave you breathless. They thought she'd break, alone, surrounded, her convoy burning in the void. But the moment the Empire struck, she didn't beg, she smiled. Because humans don't run from ambushes, we turn them into graveyards. Before we dive in, hit subscribe and drop a comment. This one's going to leave you breathless. Captain Rhea Morgan sat in the command chair with a calm that made her crew uneasy. The stars outside the viewport stretched into streaks as the convoy glided through neutral space, carrying vital supplies and refugees from systems the Empire had left scarred. Her hand hovered over the control panel, not because she doubted her crew, but because she could sense the rhythm of the void, the subtle deviations in gravitational fields and sensor echoes that no automated system could catch. Humans had a strange gift, an instinct that no alien algorithm had ever replicated, and Rhea was living proof. Lieutenant Caro, her alien second-in-command, glanced at her nervously, his mandibles clacking in a gesture of unease. "Captain, the readings are odd. Nothing I've seen before. Is it dangerous?" Rhea didn't flinch. Her eyes scanned the holographic tactical display. The convoy was supposed to be traveling a safe corridor, cleared by the Empire's latest accords. It should have been a routine passage, yet something in the ether screamed wrong. Dangerous? Maybe. But nothing we can't handle. Keep your weapons ready, Caro. Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it usually is. Dr. Yana Holt, the medic, wrung her hands in the corner, staring at the sensor panel as though it could shield them from the invisible threat lurking ahead. Her voice was tight. "Captain, shouldn't we report anomalies? Protocol says." "Protocol doesn't win wars," Rhea interrupted, her voice calm, almost soothing. "We survive by seeing the ambush before it sees us. That's the difference between humans and everyone else in this galaxy." The convoy drifted further into the so-called safe zone, and suddenly, every sensor flared to life. 20 Empire warships emerged from stealth fields like predators dropping from a cliff, surrounding them in a perfect trap. Their weapons glowed red, and the void seemed to shrink around the convoy, as though the galaxy itself was warning them. An Empire commander's voice blared through open comms, dripping with mockery and confidence. "Rhea Morgan, surrender your convoy. Resistance will only prolong your suffering. Your species is fragile. Your journey ends here." Caro paled at the arrogance. "They've us surrounded. We can't." Rhea held up a hand, her eyes unwavering. "We don't hide from threats. We redefine them. Prepare for counter-ambush protocol." Her words sent a ripple of disbelief through the bridge. Counter-ambush protocol wasn't a standard procedure. It was a maneuver born from instinct, improvisation, and pure human audacity. No alien military doctrine accounted for humans willing to charge into traps with calculated ferocity. The crew's fear shifted, uncertain whether to hope or panic. Rhea's mind raced through possibilities. The Empire had underestimated her, underestimated humans, underestimated the will of a convoy captain whose people had survived massacres, starvation, and annihilation. Every fiber of her being demanded she turn the tables, not just survive, but make the ambushers pay. She could already see the strategy forming in her mind, every ship's trajectory, every weak point in the enemy's formation, every gravitational anomaly in the area. It was like playing chess where the opponent believed the queen was defenseless, and Rhea intended to prove them catastrophically wrong. Caro hesitated. "Captain, this is insane. They outnumber us 10-1. Rhea leaned forward, eyes cold but burning with clarity. "That's exactly why we don't run. Fear is a tool, Lieutenant. They expect us to panic. We will not panic. We will strike first, strike smart, and make them wish they never set foot in human space." Dr. Holt's hands shook as she prepped emergency medkits and shield boosters. "But the refugees. They're safe if we survive, and we will survive because we don't see the impossible as a limit. We see it as a challenge," Rhea said. Her smile was sharp, unyielding. It was the smile of someone who had stared death in the eye and laughed. She activated the convoy's stealth thrusters in a subtle shift, enough to reposition them without alarming the enemy yet, buying seconds that could mean lives saved or lost. Every movement was deliberate, precise, a human mind choreographing destruction into a symphony. The Empire ships assumed dominance, but they were about to learn that humans never play by anyone else's rules. Rhea's voice was calm, almost conversational, as she addressed the crew. Remember, they came prepared to kill us. That was their first mistake. Let's make sure it's their last. The first laser volley streaked across space, red death cutting through darkness. The convoy's shields flared, absorbing the initial hits, but Rhea didn't flinch. Her hand danced over the controls, activating countermeasures and redirecting energy to the hull's reinforced sections. Her ship wasn't just a vessel. It was an extension of her mind, a weapon forged by human ingenuity and instinct. The Empire expected chaos, screams, and surrender. Instead, they got something else entirely: silence. Quiet, focused, almost terrifying in its intensity. Rhea's eyes glimmered with a predatory calm. If they wanted to trap us, she murmured to herself, they should have brought more ships. Her smile widened as she prepared to turn their ambush into a battlefield of their own undoing. The convoy might have been the target, but the real lesson was about to unfold. Humans weren't prey. Not now. Not ever. And the galaxy would remember why. The first shots hit, and the convoy shuddered under the sheer weight of the Empire's firepower. Red streaks carved through the void, and alarms screamed, but Rhea Morgan didn't flinch. Her hand hovered over the controls, her mind a storm of calculations, predicting enemy movements before they even happened. While everyone else panicked, she saw opportunity. The Empire had come with arrogance, thinking numbers could crush instinct. They hadn't counted on human audacity. "Lieutenant Caro, target their flank formation," she ordered, voice calm, almost casual. "Disrupt their line. Make them collide with each other." Caro hesitated, but followed. No alien had ever dared to suggest such a reckless maneuver in the heat of battle. Humans, Rhea knew, didn't follow the rules of conventional combat. They wrote their own. The convoy shuddered as her ship darted forward, cutting a path through the killbox with precision only a human could execute. Her secret lay in the Trident escort vessels, armed with experimental gravity lance emitters. No other species had the reaction time to control them effectively. Rhea, though, had trained for this. She calculated every angle, every trajectory, sending bursts of gravity energy that tore holes through the Empire's outer line. Ships collided with each other as if pulled by invisible strings, tearing apart under their own momentum. Caro's mandibles clicked in awe. They're breaking their own formation," he muttered. Dr. Yana Holt, struggling to keep medical protocols in order amidst chaos, finally understood the truth of what humans were capable of. This isn't just strategy. This is instinct, courage, madness, genius all rolled into one. Rhea smiled faintly, watching the Empire's flagship take heavy fire. "We don't survive this by hiding. We survive by scaring them worse than they scare us," she said. The words weren't for the crew. They were for the fleet she was about to dismantle. As the first Empire ships exploded into streams of molten metal, panic spread across their communications. Their commander barked orders, but the humans were already 2 steps ahead. Every maneuver Rhea made seemed impossible, yet executed flawlessly, pushing the ambushers into chaos. The Empire's arrogance faltered under the precision of instinct and courage they had never encountered. "Captain, the flanking ships are regrouping," Caro said. "They're trying to encircle us again." "Let them try," Rhea replied. Her fingers danced over the console as she triggered the next phase. She targeted the gravity lance emitters to amplify the debris in the corridor. Asteroids, fragments from destroyed ships, and even pieces of her own shields became deadly weapons, striking the Empire vessels with crushing force. Every explosion sent tremors across the convoy, but Rhea's calm never wavered. She calculated the risk with surgical precision. One wrong move could destroy them all, but one correct move could annihilate the ambushers entirely. Humans had survived worse. They had survived genocide, starvation, and annihilation. The Empire was about to learn the consequences of underestimating them. The Empire commander's voice returned over the comms, this time laced with panic. "Rhea Morgan, cease this madness. You cannot survive this assault." Rhea's lips curled into a cold smile. "Madness? No. Strategy. Humans survive by making the impossible possible. And we're just getting started." Caro turned to her, incredulous. "You're going to charge into the center of their formation?" "I'm going to make them wish they never thought of ambushing a human convoy," Rhea said, her eyes scanning the void. Every enemy movement, every trajectory, every weak point, the pattern was clear. She could read it like a book, predict the collapse before it happened, and she did it without hesitation. Dr. Holt, still tending to minor injuries on the crew, could only stare. They don't understand fear the way we do. They think panic can save them. But humans fight with fear itself. With precise timing, Rhea's ship surged forward, cutting through the center of the ambush. Gravity lances struck with deadly accuracy, sending Empire ships spinning into one another, tearing open hulls and detonating engines. The void became a spectacle of destruction, but it was not chaotic. Every explosion was orchestrated, every strike purposeful. Caro watched the enemy's morale crumble. They're retreating. Some are trying to escape. Rhea's eyes narrowed. Let them. Fear is contagious, and the rest will follow. They'll remember today, every time they hear the name, human. She sent a short message over open channels, letting the Empire feel her wrath even before the next strike. Run if you want. I'll still find you. The simplicity of the message sent a ripple of horror through enemy ranks. It wasn't a threat, it was a promise. Humans didn't negotiate with predators, they became them. The convoy, once cornered and doomed, now carved a path through the Empire's formation. Shields flared, engines roared, and explosions lit the void like stars being born in reverse. Every moment reinforced one undeniable fact: humans did not fear the impossible. They exploited it. They mastered it. They turned ambushes into lessons in survival and death. By the time the first wave of ambushers lay in ruins, the Empire commander realized the scale of their mistake. A single human captain had not only survived but was dismantling their fleet piece by piece. The void was littered with debris, the ambush already turning into a graveyard, and yet Rhea pressed forward, eyes blazing, calculating, planning the next move. The human convoy, battered but alive, surged ahead with a newfound confidence. The crew could see it now why Rhea Morgan was legendary, why humanity had endured and thrived despite impossible odds. She had transformed fear into weaponry, chaos into strategy, and a trap into a battlefield of her own making. The Empire would not forget this day. The void itself would carry whispers of a single human turning their ambush into ruin, and for the first time, they understood the truth. Humans were predators, and no fleet, no matter how numerous, could cage them. Rhea leaned back slightly, eyes scanning the horizon. The first wave of destruction was complete, but she knew the fight was far from over. The Empire had underestimated her, underestimated humans, underestimated what it meant to survive against impossible odds. And now they were paying the price. The Empire's retreat was only temporary. Their arrogance had been shattered, but reinforcements were already on the horizon, 10 more warships warping into the kill zone. The void trembled as if the galaxy itself braced for the collision of human will and imperial might. Captain Rhea Morgan's eyes, sharp and unwavering, scanned the new arrivals. Each ship was a test, each movement a challenge, and she welcomed it. Humans thrived under pressure. They grew sharper, faster, stronger when the impossible loomed. "Captain, reinforcements approaching," Caro reported, voice tight with tension. "They're coordinating. It looks like they intend to trap us again." Rhea's hand rested lightly on the control panel, a quiet calm masking the storm in her mind. Let them try. Let them see what happens when numbers meet instinct, when doctrine meets improvisation. Humanity doesn't follow the rules. We write them. Dr. Yana Holt, exhausted and trembling, moved between stations, patching shields and medical bays alike. Her eyes followed Rhea as though searching for a miracle in the captain's stoic composure. This was the difference between humans and every other species, the unshakable resolve to fight when logic screamed to flee. Every injury she tended was met with perseverance, every crew member's panic countered by human tenacity. Rhea remembered the Helion massacre, the blood-soaked memory of her people slaughtered with no mercy. It was a wound that never healed, a fire that refused to die. That memory fueled her now. Every strike she ordered, every maneuver she executed, carried the weight of vengeance, strategy, and sheer survival instinct. The Empire would learn that humans didn't just endure, they annihilated. She adjusted the convoy's trajectory toward a dense asteroid field, a seemingly reckless move. The Empire's sensors flared with confusion. No alien pilot would dare maneuver through that chaos, but humans saw opportunity in the impossible. Rocks and debris became weapons, gravity wells morphed into traps, and every miscalculation from the enemy became a deadly liability. "Captain, the Empire's flagship is adapting," Caro warned. They're adjusting weapons to compensate for the asteroid field. Let them, Rhea replied, calm and precise. We adapt faster. We anticipate better. That's what makes us human. They prepare for patterns, we create them. The convoy surged forward, each Triton ship launching calculated strikes that tore enemy hulls, disoriented formations, and shattered morale. Explosions lit the darkness like falling stars, but Rhea's mind never wavered. Every movement, every strike, was deliberate, choreographed with instinct that no alien computation could match. Across the void, Empire pilots panicked. They had faced humans in skirmishes, but never like this. One human ship, one human captain, was dismantling fleets in a way that defied all military doctrine. They called her a monster, a freak, a legend in real time, but none dared truly understand the method behind her madness. Humans did not fear. Humans did not falter. Humans did not retreat. Dr. Holt moved frantically, applying emergency nano-shields and triaging minor injuries, her hands shaking but precise. There, she's changing the battlefield with every pulse of the shields. I've never seen anything like this, she muttered, overtaking fear. Caro nodded, silent. Words felt inadequate in the face of such raw, human power. Rhea's voice cut through the tension, quiet but commanding. Send the left wing around. Collapse their line. Push them into the asteroid corridor. Use the debris to finish what we started. Let them feel human ingenuity before they die. The convoy executed her orders flawlessly. The Empire's warships, already battered, collided with debris, each impact magnifying the chaos. Some ships erupted instantly, others spun helplessly, caught in the gravitational traps Rhea had anticipated. Humanity's signature was evident, not in sheer firepower, but in the calculated precision of every move, the orchestration of every moment. The Empire commander's voice screeched over comms, desperation breaking through arrogance. Captain Morgan, cease fire. We demand it. You are outnumbered beyond reason. Rhea's smile was cold. Outnumbered? Maybe. Outclassed? Never. Humans survive by taking what's impossible and making it inevitable. You wanted an ambush. We gave you a graveyard. Every pulse of the convoy, every strike of the Tritons, reinforced one undeniable truth. Humans did not die cleanly. They fought with everything they had, and when pushed, they became more than soldiers, they became predators. The Empire would not merely be defeated, they would be remembered as having underestimated humans at their own peril. A second wave of enemy ships tried to flank, but Rhea anticipated it. She diverted power to the Phoenix engines, a risky move that allowed the convoy to accelerate unpredictably, weaving through asteroids and debris while gravity lances found their targets with deadly accuracy. Collisions shredded hulls, and chaos turned to carnage. Caro, astonished, finally understood the truth. They're not just fighting, they're punishing them for thinking they could win. Dr. Holt, watching the carnage unfold, whispered, Humans, we are unstoppable when cornered. They won't survive our next move. Rhea's eyes narrowed as she scanned the battlefield. The Empire's fleet was faltering, retreating in disarray, but she wasn't finished. Every tactic, every strike, was designed not only to survive, but to leave a message. One human could dismantle a squadron. One human could redefine fear for an entire species. She sent a final message to the enemy, a simple line, echoing across the void, run if you want. We will still find you. It was not a threat, it was a promise. Humans never forgot, never forgave, and never surrendered. By the time the dust and debris settled from the first wave of battle, the Empire had lost half their forces. The convoy remained intact, battered but unbroken. Humanity's fury had been unleashed, and the galaxy would take notice. No ambush, no numerical advantage, no arrogance could match the instinct, ingenuity, and relentless courage of humans. Rhea leaned back, eyes scanning the horizon for the next threat. The battle was far from over, but one truth was clear. Humans didn't just survive, they dominated. And the Empire was learning that lesson the hard way. The Empire's reinforcements were relentless, but so was Rhea Morgan. Her ship shuddered under continuous fire, shields flashing warnings with every near miss, hull integrity dropping at a dangerous rate. The convoy crew panicked at the sight of incoming blasts, but Rhea's calm never wavered. She didn't flinch. She didn't hesitate. Fear was a tool to wield, not a weakness to succumb to, and she wielded it better than any alien fleet could comprehend. Lieutenant Caro's voice trembled through the comms. Captain, the engines are overheating. Shields at 30%. We can't. Rhea cut him off with a sharp, measured tone. We can and we will. Humans survive because we refuse to die quietly. You're either with me or you're irrelevant. The Empire fleet closed in, numbers overwhelming, energy signatures massive. Their commander's arrogance was intact, but desperation seeped into every command. They assumed victory was guaranteed, that human tenacity would crumble against superior firepower. They were wrong. Humans didn't fold. Humans didn't panic. Humans destroyed the impossible and lived to laugh at it. Rhea activated a sequence known only as the Phoenix Override. It was a protocol designed for situations no one should survive, a risk so extreme that even her engineers hesitated to implement it. The ship screamed in response as power surged through circuits, engines burning at intolerable rates, shields expanding beyond their design limits. Every system on the verge of failure became a weapon. The ship was alive, thrumming with human audacity. Dr. Holt's eyes widened as she watched the energy levels spike. Captain, that will destroy the ship. It might, Rhea admitted, voice calm. Or it will destroy them. Caro stared at her, incredulous. You're going to charge straight into the flagship. Rhea's lips curled into a faint, deadly smile. They wanted a fight. I'll give them one they'll never forget. Engines screamed as the convoy surged forward, weaving through debris and shattered warships. Every gravity lance strike, every evasive maneuver, was executed with preternatural precision. The Empire fleet tried to adapt, tried to anticipate her moves, but humans were unpredictable. Humans thrived in chaos. And Rhea was the apex of that instinct. The flagship, massive and armed with multiple energy cannons, fired relentlessly. Explosions rocked the convoy, but Rhea's calculations were flawless. She redirected power from failing shields to engines, slamming through gaps that no alien pilot would dare navigate. One by one, enemy ships collided with each other, shredded by gravitational bursts and debris she manipulated like an orchestra conductor. Caro finally understood the human edge. They're not just fighting. They're dismantling us strategically, anticipating every move before it happens. Nothing can survive this. Dr. Holt added quietly, almost in disbelief, humans don't surrender. They don't retreat. They don't accept impossible odds. They win or they die trying, and somehow we always come out alive. Rhea's voice cut through the noise, steady and commanding. Every strike you see is calculated. Every destruction you witness is planned. The Empire assumes we panic. We don't. We fight smarter, faster, stronger. That's why no one ever underestimates a human twice. The flagship fired its massive cannons, energy beams slicing through void. Rhea accelerated unpredictably, weaving through fire like liquid shadow. She positioned her ship perfectly, firing gravity lances directly into weak points she had anticipated. The flagship's hull screamed under pressure, tearing apart in violent rips of metal and plasma. Explosions erupted in every direction as the once mighty warship began to break apart, dragging surrounding vessels into chaos. Caro's voice was a mixture of awe and fear. Captain, she's doing the impossible again. Rhea's eyes were cold, calculating, alive with the thrill of battle. She knew the risks. The Phoenix Override could fry circuits, collapse the ship entirely, and kill them all. But victory demanded sacrifice, audacity, and the courage to defy impossible odds. She executed every maneuver, adjusted every trajectory, leveraged every ounce of human ingenuity and instinct to dismantle the enemy. The Empire fleet, once confident, now faltered. Panic rippled through their ranks. Commanders shouted futile orders, but their forces collided, tore apart, and burned in space. Rhea didn't just win skirmishes, she annihilated their strategy, turned their arrogance into rubble, and left them helpless in the void. Dr. Holt and Caro worked frantically to keep systems online, patching electrical failures and rerouting power manually. Every action reinforced one undeniable fact: humans thrived under pressure. They survived because they refused to surrender. They dominated because they never hesitated when impossible odds appeared. Rhea's mind was singularly focused on the flagship. She could see the panic on the enemy commander's face through comms. What are you? How can one ship, one human, destroy us like this? Rhea's reply was simple, unyielding, and terrifying in its honesty. Not one ship, one human. With that, she slammed the Phoenix Override into full effect, channeling overcharged energy into gravity lances that ripped the flagship apart. The void shook as hull, weapons, and crew were obliterated. Wreckage tore through surrounding vessels, creating a chain reaction of destruction. The ambush had become a graveyard. The remaining Empire ships broke formation and fled, their morale shattered. Every command they had followed, every plan they had executed, had been undone by human ingenuity, instinct, and unyielding courage. Rhea's convoy, battered but intact, moved through the wreckage, leaving behind nothing but silence and destruction. Caro, finally grasping the enormity of what had occurred, whispered, "They underestimated humans completely." Dr. Holt added, voice trembling with awe, "No one survives like this. Not aliens, not fleets. Humans, this is why we're feared across the stars." Rhea's hands hovered over the controls, her breathing steady. She had risked everything, her ship pushed beyond limits, yet victory was undeniable. The Empire would carry this lesson to every corner of the galaxy. Humans didn't just survive ambushes, they turned them into legends. As silence filled the void, she allowed herself a single thought, sharp and resolute. One human, one mind, one will had rewritten the rules of engagement. The Empire had learned a truth they would never forget, and the convoy moved forward, carrying hope, survival, and a warning that humans were predators in a galaxy that had dared to cage them. The void was silent except for drifting debris and the distant hum of crippled engines. The Empire's flagship was gone, shredded into molten fragments, and the remaining warships were scattered, broken, and demoralized. Captain Rhea Morgan's ship, battered but intact, moved through the wreckage with quiet purpose. The convoy, once cornered and doomed, had survived not by luck, but by human ingenuity, instinct, and sheer audacity. The ambush had been transformed into a graveyard, a testament to what humans could do when cornered and refused to surrender. Lieutenant Caro stared out the viewport, eyes wide. "Captain, the fleet, it's gone. All of it. They didn't expect this." Rhea's expression was calm, almost serene, but her eyes burned with intensity. "They never do. The Empire always underestimates humans. They assume fear and logic will restrain us. They forget that humans thrive on adversity, that we turn impossible odds into victories." Dr. Yana Holt moved through the command deck, checking on crew and refugees alike, her hands still trembling from the adrenaline. "Captain, we've survived. We've really survived." Rhea allowed herself a faint nod. Survival had never been enough. Humans had to dominate, to leave a lesson burned into the galaxy. Never underestimate them. She activated communications across the void, sending a simple message to any surviving Empire ships. This convoy was a target. You failed. Humans do not die quietly. Remember this. The Empire commander's voice came through, broken, panicked, disbelief lacing every word. What are you? One human destroyed an entire task force. You are impossible." Rhea's reply was measured, deadly in its simplicity. Not impossible. Human. The convoy surged ahead, refugees staring in awe at the stars littered with wreckage. For many, it was the first time they had seen humans in full battle fury, in all their terrifying brilliance. They saw why the galaxy feared, respected, and underestimated them simultaneously. One human, one captain, had rewritten the rules of engagement in the span of a single ambush. The Empire had come with arrogance, expecting a massacre. They left with a lesson in humility and horror. Every wrecked ship floating in the void was a story of human ingenuity, every explosion a symbol of tenacity, every maneuver executed flawlessly under impossible pressure. Humanity's blend of instinct, courage, and adaptability had turned desperation into advantage, ambush into victory. The galaxy would remember this. They had witnessed a force that defied logic and embraced audacity. Rhea allowed herself a moment to breathe, to glance at her crew. Caro, exhausted but alive, nodded in acknowledgement. Dr. Holt's hands shook as she patched final systems, the reality of survival settling in. Humans had won because they never saw the impossible as a limit. They saw it as a challenge, and they answered with all the brilliance, ferocity, and cunning they possessed. "Captain," Caro said softly, how do you keep doing this? How do you survive when everything seems lost?" Rhea's eyes met his, unwavering, sharp as a blade. "Because humans don't survive by chance. We survive by refusing to quit. We fight smarter, faster, stronger. We adapt. We endure. We dominate. The universe doesn't wait for us. We make it follow our will." Dr. Holt glanced at the horizon, her voice barely a whisper. Do you think they'll ever stop underestimating us? Rhea smiled faintly, almost imperceptibly, cold and unyielding. They won't. They never have. And that's why they lose. Humans are the predators in every galaxy that dares to underestimate us. Today they learn the hard way. The convoy continued through the void, survivors huddled together, whispers of awe and gratitude filling the corridors. The story of one woman, one human, had already begun to ripple across interstellar channels. Reports would spread, an entire empire ambush annihilated by a single human mind, a single ship, a single will that refused to surrender. Fear would follow the tale, and respect, begrudging but undeniable, would cement humanity's reputation across countless systems. Rhea looked once more at the wreckage, drifting silently through the void. The ambushers had thought they were predators. They had assumed victory was guaranteed. They had thought humans were weak, fragile, predictable. And now, their fleet floated broken, a graveyard of arrogance. Humans had survived, humans had fought, and humans had left their mark. The message was clear. Never cage a human, never underestimate a human, never mistake audacity for recklessness. She allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. The convoy was safe, the Empire fleet shattered, and humanity's legend had grown. One woman, one human, had turned a trap into a victory that would be remembered for generations. The survivors aboard the convoy whispered the truth to one another, a truth the galaxy would not soon forget. Humans do not bend. Humans do not surrender. Humans do not die quietly. Rhea Morgan's eyes scanned the horizon one last time, calculating, assessing, already anticipating the next challenge. The Empire had learned, painfully, what it meant to underestimate a human. They would carry that lesson forever, a scar on their pride and their fleets. Humans had survived, triumphed, and turned the ambush into a graveyard, a demonstration of courage, instinct, and lethal precision no alien could ever match. The void swallowed the wreckage, silent and cold, but the legend of one human woman burned brighter than any star. The convoy moved forward, carrying life, hope, and the undeniable truth that humans were predators in a galaxy that had dared to cage them. And the universe would never forget the day the Empire ambushed a convoy, only to find themselves trapped in a nightmare they could not survive. Rhea's final thought as she guided the convoy away from the graveyard was sharp, clear, and resolute. Humans were unstoppable. Humans were relentless. And humans would always turn the impossible into their triumph.